Hi again, episode 6. Um, Obviously, I'm filming a whole bunch of these back to back. I'm in the same, same clothes and drinking the same tea, but I have the energy and the time and the space, so I'm going with it. It's all good. So, episode 6, lesson 3, the sliding scale technique. So, in the last lesson, we talked about the importance of those I am statements and how they have the power to create your reality. Once you have identified which of these statements you would like to change, the first thing you need to do is look for evidence in your physical life that they aren't true. In my I am gross example, I said to myself, if I was truly gross, it is unlikely that I would have a husband who loves me and he wants to be intimate with me, or have friends that want to give me a hug when they see me. Then you need to replace that old statement with a new one, a kinder and gentler one. For me, I found it wasn't sincere to go from I am gross to I am beautiful. What I'm saying is that this new statement lacked integrity for me and therefore wasn't true. Much like when we set our intentions, if you don't believe the new statement you were trying to tell yourself, you're wasting your time. Instead of going to the complete opposite statement, I decided that I needed to make the statement slightly truer. I call this the sliding scale technique, which calls for making slight changes to the statement you are trying to change, aligning yourself with a new statement, and then making yet another incremental change. I have found that this technique works well because it is easier to align your beliefs with small changes rather than large ones. In the gross example, I said to myself, well, I'm not that gross. Seriously, that's what I had to do. Looking at the evidence to support this new statement, I could genuinely believe it to be true, and therefore this statement had integrity for me. Once I believed that I wasn't that gross, I was able to say, I'm not gross at all. And that quickly became, actually, I'm really quite cute. During this time, I also spent a great deal of time looking at myself in the mirror and telling myself those nicer things. Louise Hay calls this mirror work, and it truly does work. So I talked about this in episode 5. And I would say I've just gotten unbelievably better at this as the years have gone on. To give you a sense of just how powerful this tool is, consider this. I discovered this I am gross statement in my head in October of 2011. I spent the month of November 2011 on Maui and vacation with my family. Throughout my holiday, I spent a great deal of time walking around in a bikini and telling myself increasingly kinder things using the sliding scale technique. In that 6-week period, I lost 10 pounds without changing a single thing except for the voice in my head. You see, my physical plane reality had no choice but to call into existence that which I truly came to believe. I share this story with you because I know so many of us struggle with body image issues. I have struggled with them my whole life. Whether we believe that we are too fat, too skinny, too ugly, too old, too freckly, we can be masterful at telling ourselves that we are anything less than perfect, just as we are. So before you jump into the next fad diet bandwagon, consider instead looking at the belief system that has likely led to a lot of your insecurities in the first place. Once you start to love and appreciate your body for exactly what it is, you will start to feel better from the inside out. Remember that your reality has no choice but to align with your beliefs. Part of this journey also involves time. In order to change our beliefs about ourselves, we need to let go of our need to time bend into the future. We already talked about this in one of the episodes. I will be prettier when I lose 10 pounds. Or the past. I looked so much better when I was younger. When you start to love yourself and your body as is, you will automatically start to change your behaviors as well. You will take better care of yourself. We tend to take care of the things that we love and cherish and abuse the things that we don't. We will address some of these behaviors, our habits, and our eating when we talk about the integrity of our actions. So the course says action. Look at the I am statements that you have made and choose one that you would really like to change. Questions for reflection. How does this statement make you feel? Are you certain that it is true? Can you find any evidence that it is true? How do you think you would feel if you were able to change the statement to one that was more loving? Can you think of a statement that is more in alignment with what your heart knows to be true? Can you make it more loving? Can you accept this more loving statement as true and let go of the old story in your mind? Action. Rinse and repeat. Do the same exercise with as many of your I am statements as you'd like, or all of them. Is my advice. Continue to work on each of these statements using the sliding scale technique. Also, Byron Katie's the work. If you know Byron Katie's work, it works. Work it till you work it. Be patient with yourself. Your physical reality will absolutely change as your thoughts do, but it can take some time for your outside world to catch up with your inside world. Focus your attention on looking for evidence that these things are indeed shifting. So I guess I wanted to say a little more about relationship with the body. One of the big aha moments that around my relationship with my body. So along with the theme of I am gross and self-annihilation and all these negative, really despairing thoughts that I had to clear away and heal. How one of the ways in which that manifested for me, and I talk about it in the memoir part, was as an eating disorder and a lifelong pattern of disordered eating in my past, in my warehouse. So it began at age about 11 or so, 11, 12, right when my body started to like change into puberty, and I started to I was very skinny. Like my nickname when I was growing up was Skinny, Skinny Mini, literally. And then I started to naturally get some hormones and go into teenage years and get some curves, and I did not like that, and it totally freaked me out. And I was a competitive swimmer, and it's part of the culture. Like, it's part of dancing culture, it's part of gymnastics culture, it's part of a lot of sports where leanness is super, valued. And I would say it's part of swimming culture. There was a couple of girls in our club who struggled with body image and eating issues. I was one of them. And it started kind of me onto this like binging and purging and being afraid to eat certain things and being super fussy about food and controlling food. And I mean, it was like not good. And I hid it all pretty well. I mean, I grew up in a family where my brothers were very sick, and there was real emergencies, actual emergencies happening very regularly in and out of hospitals and ambulances and insanity. So it was easy to hide in my family of origin. Once I moved out and I was living with my partner who became my husband, who is now my ex-husband, it became harder to hide that. And he was not very tolerant, is the right word I would put around that. And which was good, because he kind of like set this expectation around, well, any person that's with me doesn't do that. And my attachment freak out kicked in, so I kind of just like made myself stop the binging and purging, but it didn't totally lift and heal my relationship with food. And I put on 40-50 pounds in a very short amount of time, and then I was obese in my early 20s. And I was and my metabolism was all messed up, and my GI system was all messed up, and I never dealt with the root issues of the food problem. So fast forward 20 years later, for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm the closest I've ever been to being in integrity with my body and being in integrity with my food and eating from a place of like, I love this body. I'm so grateful for this body. I want to be a partner to this body. I was in a healing session this summer with a lady who kind of informed me. It never occurred to me before that my body has its own consciousness. And she said it, and I was like, well, duh. I'm just partnering with it. Like, I'm not being a very nice partner historically. So I need to, what would that look like? What would it look like? And I was already kind of moving towards really cleaning up my diet at this point, and using my intuition around like what foods create energy and wellness and chi and what foods don't for me, and like trying to get that figured out scientifically and also intuitively. And the result is that, I'm in a body that looks the way I've always wanted it to look, like super lean and super fit. And I got there through loving myself, being kind to myself and partnering with my body. So totally the opposite techniques of what I was trying to do my whole life until now. So that's my story about the sliding scale technique. The sliding scale technique, I think, is an easier sell for somebody who's trying to do thought work for the first time. In my life coaching practice, I use Byron Katie's work because it's effective. It's like laser surgery. It's so effective. It's so powerful and quick. I think the sliding scale is maybe a better technique for somebody that's trying to get to a lot of this stuff on their own, which I was at that time. So both and I would say sliding scale technique for some of them that you want to work with and sit with and move through, and the work, especially if you have somebody to help you hold the questions and hold the container. Like, I think the work works really well as a coaching tool. So those are my thoughts about thought work for today. The end of the episode. See you next time.